317, 317, 317. That's how many episodes has been published of South Park. And I'd have to say, the vast majority of them are really good, actually. A few of them are spectacular. And even fewer are some of the funniest, in my opinion. And this one right here I have for you is one of those. I'm really tempted to say that this is the funniest episode that I've ever seen, but I don't know, that wouldn't be paying justice to some of the other episodes that I've watched. Like Major Boobage in that episode when Ike goes through puberty. That was hilarious. But this episode is called Why I Shouldn't Have Gone Ziplining. And I'm going to tell you exactly what goes on in this episode and some of the funniest moments. So boom, there was like a vacation. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's spring break. The boys are on vacation. It's about to come to an end, and they have to come up with an idea of something fun to do before the vacation ends, and they have to go back to school. Somebody, they don't know who. Nobody, they don't really show who specifically comes up with the idea, but somebody comes up with an idea to go ziplining. And Stan says he has an uncle who can give him a ride. So they get on the back of this truck, and one of the funniest scenes is Cartman continuously poking fun at Kenny for his cold sore. Kenny calls it a cold sore, but Cartman correctly identifies that it's herpes, and only chicks call it cold sores. So that's funny. Kenny even goes as far as to call it a fever blister, which I'm pretty sure is all things that they've called a cold sore, which is actually herpes, but the mouth kind, so the less dangerous kind. And if you didn't know, vast majority of people actually have this kind. You probably have this kind. Anyways, they go to the place, they're all super hyped. They walk into the spot for their appointment to go ziplining, and they're still stoked, still excited, until...
All right, you guys look ready to zipline. Okay, just follow me over to the waiting room and we'll have you take a seat with the others.
The guy tells them about the others, because of course this is a tour guide kind of ziplining. So as soon as they hear there's others, they get real sad and real depressed because they know how lame it can be to share an experience with other boring, lame adults. So they walk into place, and I just love the way that the parody does that thing where they show like a graphic of Stan's like adrenal glands, and they're pumping really hard when they're excited, but as soon as he walks into that room with all the other people, it starts to slow down and it gets real depressing. And just as a side note, we all know this experience, this really painful experience when you're with a bunch of strangers and you have to force small talk with them. How are you doing? And then you have to go, yeah, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you?
You know what I'm saying? It's the most painful and awkward thing, especially for a guy like me who isn't really socially adept. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a social butterfly, so I'm not really cool with talking to everyone. But you know what? I will force myself to do that. Kyle, and they show the graphic of his muscles, his face muscles, even forcing a smile. So it's hilarious. They go through the safety video. The guy even talks to himself in the video, which is extremely lame. And just as they're about to end and finally go out there and experience the ziplining, the tour guide asks the people, does anyone have a question? And boy, we know. The boys are like, no one has a question. But there is a lame guy in the back who actually has a question, who's gonna prolong their stay inside that room and actually delay their experience with the ziplining.
Will anybody have any questions?
No.
I have a question.
There's another hurdle stopping them from experiencing the zip lines, and that of course is a shuttle, because now they have to get in that van with all those people and sit there for 45 minutes before they get to the zip lines. A lot of funny things happen in that van. For one, we get introduced to the guy, the long story short guy.
Well, my name's Pete Nichols, and this is my wife Donna, and make a long story short,
And I think this whole episode pays homage to all the weird and different kind of peoples that we have in this world. There is a long story short guy that you've experienced in your past. He tells a long ass story, and he thinks just because he sprinkles in long story short that the story is somehow more palatable and shorter. The guy is unbearable. And I just love the way the Cartman reacts to the guy continuously saying long story short. But they finally get to the zip lines. It seems like they're finally there. They're about to have some fun. They get on there, the tour guy explains to them that keep your hands clear of the zipline equipment, go down. When you're halfway, he's gonna scream out, "Shaka brah," and that's when you do these, and he takes a picture. Simple. Cartman goes first. He goes down, takes the picture. When he lands, all the boys shout at him, "So how was it, Cartman?" Cartman tells him straight up, blunt, in front of everyone, that it was really fucking lame. What a shocker. And at this point, they realize that they've wasted hours of their day just doing this. One other thing that I noticed, and I've never done ziplining, but I can see would be extremely lame, is the fact that when you ride the zipline, even if it is fun, now you gotta sit there and wait for everyone else to go through and ride their zipline before you move on to the next one. That's exactly what they have to experience. So they get back on the shuttle and ride to the next spot. Basically, they're not having fun anymore. This is no longer enjoyable. They have to find a way to get out there. And they are just panicking. I love the way that they show the sense of urgency in the editing and the camera work and everything, with the parody, of course. Also, one of the funniest scenes is, it's so boring that Cartman decides to take out some Mountain Dew. And of course, they show this great camera where the camera literally goes in his stomach and shows all the contents of his stomach, where he's had Chinese food, Taco Bell. I think they say Del Taco. It's like a Taco Bell kind of food. I'm assuming they have tacos in there is what I'm saying. And then he washes it all down with some Mountain Dew, which is obviously a terrible combination. They even show the gas leaving his stomach, leaving through his asshole, and then flying up Kyle's nose. And then Kyle goes, "Dude, did you just fart?" And then every single time, Cartman denies that it wasn't him, which is hilarious. But anyways, so after the lame ziplining, after continuously hearing the guy tell them stories that he thinks he can make short by saying a long story short, they decide to have the idea of riding horseback. So one of the zipline guys tells him, "Hey, if you don't want to be here anymore, you can probably go down there, ride some horses, and go back down." Stan, it's always Stan for some reason. He's been having all the ideas of doing something different. Stan comes back, tells him about the horses, and they decide to ride the horses down. But apparently the horses is also a tour guide. It's essentially the same thing because the horses can't go any faster than 4 miles per hour. So they have to go through that now, and all the people telling lame stories. And there's another guy who apparently has the long story short stories. So from then on, Kyle, I'm pretty sure with Stan again, he has the idea that he sees there's a lake over there and he sees plenty of boats and they can get on a boat and then ride it down to some place and then get home. But little do they know, the boats are also extremely lame. But this is the funniest part. This is one of the funniest parts where they show like an IRL, like live action version of the boys. And I honestly thought that this was great, you know what I'm saying? Because the guy that plays Kyle is hilarious. Every time he says, "You killed Kenny," he says a really intense and serious like, and it's always funny.
"Oh my God, they killed Kenny. You bastards!"
Oh, I forgot to mention, when they were in the woods riding the horsebacks, Cartman continuously drinks the Mountain Dew. He goes from Mountain Dew to Double Dew, which is double the sugar of Mountain Dew, to Kyle tells him, "Stop drinking Double Dew." Cartman goes, "No, this is Diet Double Dew, which is half the sugar of Double Dew." So if you're keeping the math, Mountain Dew, then he goes to Double Dew, which is double the sugar of Mountain Dew. Then he goes to Diet Double Dew, which is half the sugar of Double Dew. So he's essentially back down to Mountain Dew. But he's now at this point, he's crapping his pants. And Kyle has the great idea, "Dude, they're in the woods. Why don't you just go in the woods and go, take a crap actually?" And Cartman has the best response because he tells them, "No, he can't crap in the woods because the blood will attract beavers." Which, the funny part about that is, why is there blood in his stool? And why would that attract beavers? Bro, anyway, so they're back on the boat. They're still panicking. They're still freaking out. And Kyle has the great idea of maybe if they drank some of the Mountain Dew that Cartman's been drinking, the caffeine will probably do something in their brains and it won't be so bad. And the live action Cartman, who I guess kind of works, you know what I'm saying? He says in a serious way that I just find so hilarious. He says he's not going to share his Mountain Dew with Kenny because of course Kenny has herpes, and if they do, they all get herpes, which is exactly what they do. They share the Mountain Dew and then they all get herpes. And eventually Kenny dies. I think he dies from boredom, or yeah, that's what they say. He dies from boredom. I would have really hoped that Cartman would have did a joke about that, about him dying from herpes, but he didn't. And so they finally comes to like wit's ends, and they finally have this big fight, and Stan feels like he can no longer hold it in, so he finally lets him know, because Cartman's been blaming Kyle this whole time that it's his idea, when in reality it was Stan's idea. And the whole idea came about because he knows that if he invites 3 friends, he can get an iPod not even an iPad, an iPod Nano. I don't know if you remember those, because we haven't seen those in a minute. There was those little square things, iPods. I'm pretty sure that's what they were, right? I don't even remember, dude. An iPod Nano. So it was this idea. He put them all through all of that just so he can get an iPod Nano. So Stan's crying, and they show him crying when they're doing that parody thing with the camera, and it's a one-on-one, which is hilarious. And I a lot of you missed this, but this is a funny line from Stan. He goes, he's crying because, you know, he did that to them. And he goes, and the saddest part is I can't take it back. You're thinking he's talking about the fact that he had the idea of ziplining, but he's actually talking about the iPod Nano. He's like, because it's a 5th generation and I can't even take it back. You know what I'm saying?
The hardest part about it is knowing you can't take it back. I mean, it was a 5th generation Nano, so I can't trade it in anywhere.
So, all in all, they end up getting saved by Mr. Hanky, who, if you remember, is like a piece of crap. They do a lot of poop jokes. He's 737. Okay, it's funny. It's kind of childish, but the poop jokes were funny. All right. So Mr. Hanky gets them back home, and Kenny dies, and I love how they're doing the "Where Are They Now" thing with Stan. He's basically talking to people about the dangers of ziplining. Cartman decides to do his own thing. I forget what Cartman does. I even forget what Carl does, honestly, towards the end. But the episode, all in all, was very... Oh, Kyle has to get all the fecal matter, you know, flushed from his nose from all the inhalation of Cartman's, you know, shits. So that was funny at the end there. But yeah, that was I Should Have Never Gone Ziplining. One of the funniest episodes in my opinion. It's been your boy Numouts. Peace.